Hey everyone, my guest today is the amazing Paige Griffith. She's the founder of the Legal Paige, a virtual legal education platform working with small businesses. The fun thing about Paige is she was a photographer before she went to law school, and she understands the ins and outs of the creative community when it comes to the needs to get legally legit. So we had a great conversation about how to protect yourself in your business, what kinds of things you should be looking for from the get-go and not wait until you run into some issues. We had a great conversation also about networking, which is something that Paige really enjoys. I know you're going to get a lot out of this conversation. I can't wait for you to listen to this. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast, where we bridge the gap between the creativity you love and the CEO mindset you need. I'm your host, Nata Salvatore, wedding photographer and business educator. Find full show notes and resources at accidentalceopod.com. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Accidental CEO podcast. I'm your host, Nata Salvatore, and today I have Paige Griffith with me. She is the founder of the Legal Paige, a virtual legal educational platform working with small businesses. She's also a certified Juris Doctor and holds a double BA in economics and political science, which I do think is important for you to know. And after working as a federal law clerk, she traded the traditional law life for a virtual one and opened the doors of the Legal Paige in 2018. And her main thing is helping clients in the online community run legal and protected businesses through her contract shop, podcast, YouTube channel, blog, and everything else that she does. So welcome, Paige.
Thank you for letting me come on your show. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, so let's just start with a little bit of current state for you and your business and what you guys are, tending to, who you're working with. And then I want to hear your story of how did you end up there. So let's start with today.
Fun. Man, current status of the Legal Paige. I feel like we're just hitting the ground running every single day. I now have a team of like 10 to 15 people on any given period of time. So we have employees and contractors. I have other lawyers on my team, which is nice. So I can kind of clone myself and I don't have to do all the legal stuff for the Legal Paige. Yeah, all kinds of like marketing initiatives going out. But my main thing is like, I just want to be a safe place for, creative small business owners, primarily service-based providers, to get good legal education without having to go down rabbit holes online. And if they have a question, we can probably provide the answer, whether that's in a blog, whether that's in a podcast. Maybe you need a contract template for that. We do lots of free education in our Facebook community as well. So people ask Q&A in like more of a group forum. We answer those on the daily. I get DMs on the daily. I have a heart for serving. I love making sure that you as a business owner who's probably a solo run business, you're wearing all the hats. I just want you to have that chief legal officer hat on a little bit more than you would like, but to make it as easy as possible to wear that hat. That's kind of the current state. We can get into more as we go.
No, I love that. That's so needed because, like you said, a lot of us are just doing this alone and, it gets overwhelming. And that's one of the hats we should be wearing. And a lot of times is one that we avoid a lot. So, I'm glad that you can make things a little bit easier and accessible to people so they can stay in business safely.
Correct. And just avoid disputes in general is always a good option.
Yeah. That's the main goal.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how did you end up there? What was the life before the Legal Paige?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. So I was a photographer. I had a pretty decent sized business here in Western Montana. I did family photography and wedding photography. I've shot over 100 weddings and 300 plus clients. I was doing it though at the same time that I was in law school because I was like reading and writing the law all day long and just thought, maybe that's not enough. Just kidding. I really just wanted to use the creative side of my brain a bit more, right? Because I was just truly in academia all day long and it was getting to be a lot. So I had always had a love for photography, but I didn't really know that was the creative path I was going to go. Hit up one of my friends in town that he was a pretty well-known photographer. I had grown up next door to him and he was like, get a Canon, blah, 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 and a nifty 50. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you can do this. And I was like, yes, I can. Just started, photographing family and friends and doing things on the side. I am somebody that can totally raise my hand here and be like, I didn't have a contract at that period of time until I realized that I needed one. So we've all been in that boat, even me back in the day. And so I was going to law school and running a photography business. I ended up loving entrepreneurship. I ended up loving photography, self-taught kind of YouTube, university is what they call it.
Yeah.
Took a lot of online courses at the time as well, went to photography conferences, was a part of a lot of weddings, met a lot of other vendors, talked with a lot of other photographers at these events, and was like, man, nobody really knows what they're doing on the legal side of things. And so when I was clued into that, it's, again, like you said, it's something you shove under the rug for another day. It's not something you really want to take on until a sticky situation comes up. And then you're like, oh crap, what should I have done? And I didn't really do what I needed to do to avoid this, or to at least protect myself in instances like this. And so I just realized, this is probably the path that I want to go down, unlike the traditional law school, law clerk route. Then I went and worked for a federal clerk, or I went and worked for a federal judge as a federal clerk. I was still running my photography business. And I just decided one day, like, I don't want to do the traditional law life path. I don't want to do partner track. I think I'm going to do just something different with my law degree. The judge I worked for at the time, I'll never forget it. He sat down in my office and was like, Paige, I really think you shouldn't take these interviews with these firms. I think you should do something different. It was like this permission slip that I didn't know I needed. And that led me to build out the Legal Paige. So I kind of just started as like a legal education platform and blog, pure SEO. That's all I was doing, dabbling a little bit in social media and doing like tips and tricks here and there. And since then, we have now hundreds of contracts in our shop. We serve not only photographers, that was kind of my main niche to start out with, but all kinds of wedding and event vendors, and now all kinds of service-based providers. Any type of business owner you could think of, we have contract templates for. We have lots of legal documents, lots of a la carte clauses, and then just pure free legal education. I want it to be easy, accessible, and approachable for you to get answers to your legal questions.
I love that story. I think it takes a lot of courage to go on your own out there as a business owner, but good to have that kind of knowledge that you have, and even nicer of you to kind of pass it along and share with other people. I also love the name of your business, the Legal Paige. I always thought it was super creative, and love that you have the background on a lot of the industries that you serve, so you can understand what people actually need to have in there. So
yeah, I like to keep my hand in the cookie jar, so to speak. And, I've done this, I've been in it, I've had client situations, like I know what's going to come up. So I feel like I have that unique approach on drafting contracts as a contract lawyer, and not just, some lawyer that you're going to hire from a firm that has no idea what you're doing with social media marketing and how your clients are signing online and what issues that you could face or likely will face. And yeah, creating my business name was actually, that's a funny story too. I was in a mastermind. I was actually in Jenna Kutcher's mastermind, the only one she's ever ran back in the day. I don't know if lots of people don't even know about it because she only did it once. It was the very first in-person event of that mastermind. And I had kind of thought about maybe doing this. This is early 2018. And I was sitting at a table with a bunch of really genius women, and we were throwing around business names ideas, and that one came up. And I was like, that's it. That's the name. Went home and trademarked it literally the Monday after.
I love that. I'm sure that person is so proud of what
I know. I don't remember if it was me who came up with it or an iteration on somebody else, saying something. I really don't remember who came up with it, but
brainstorming is the best.
Brainstorm session. Yeah. To the max.
Now, when was the last time you grabbed a camera?
Ooh, just the other day. I now mainly just shoot for fun. So I still professionally photograph for my kids and my family, and then family and friends as well. I was DMing with a friend the other day, and we're going to do like a little photo swap of our families for
Oh, nice.
yeah, for fall photos. And I definitely don't do it anymore for like a business. I had to choose between all these like full-time businesses I was running. And it was kind of in the 2020, 2021 period that I shut down kind of the photography business as a whole, because I was really focused on helping wedding vendors and photographers like not lose their entire business during that period of time. So that's kind of when TLP really it scaled and grew, and it was just a time to choose. But it's fun to do it now as just a passion and a hobby, and not do it for money.
Yeah, it takes all the pressure off, and
Yeah.
you can just choose when you want to do it, which is great. So let's go into a little bit of what you see when you're working with people. So, what are some of maybe the three critical legal steps that new small businesses should have to ensure that they are protected? Maybe the top three.
Yeah, it's no surprise my number one is get your contracts in place. And that is primarily because it doesn't matter if you're a sole proprietorship, LLC, or you're an LLC who files as an S corp, like you need a contract. Even with family and friends. Like, honestly, some of my worst clients were my family members who just asked for everything under the sun from me. And then if they're unhappy, it creates like obviously emotional turmoil as well. So always just have a contract in place and get it signed. It's the best thing that you can do for your business. I know it's like an initial investment, and there's other shinier things going on like website design and like getting on social media, shiny object syndrome there, where you think those are the most important parts of your business. But if you just get a solid contract in place, it's going to serve you, and it's going to be a return on investment time and time and time again, because every single client that you use is going to sign that. I think it's also just really professional. It goes to show that you, as a business owner, know what you're doing. You have a contract, and you want your clients to sign the contract. They're paying a lot of money, hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars for your services. And they expect something, you want a good two-sided contract that has rights and responsibilities for you as the business owner, but also rights and responsibilities for your clients. So they feel secure with the investment they're making with you and the deliverables that you will be giving to them. So that's number one, always get a contract in place. And then the next one is kind of start thinking about the formation of your business and what type of business entity you want to be. So that's when you're choosing between a sole proprietorship, an LLC. At some point, you would probably be looking into potentially becoming an S corp and designating as such for tax purposes. But really, all small business owners in our universe and world are just choosing between, do you want to stay default sole proprietorship where you're filing as an arm and extension of yourself and your social security number, and it's kind of just like, the side hustle, and you're making a little bit of income and you're filing as such through the IRS and your state government? Or do you want to actually register a business entity with your state? Sole proprietorship isn't a business entity. It's just the default kind of business that you create on the side, and they name it something, they coin it a sole proprietorship. Or do you want to register in your state? And that's a limited liability company. You can register as a corporation. I don't recommend it. There's double taxation and all those things. But limited liability company, it's like you get to have your cake and eat it too. So it's good. It's like a best insurance you can get for your business, because it separates your business and personal assets and liability and risk. So that's important for all of us who have savings accounts, who have college funds, who've worked really hard to have the personal assets that we do, houses, cars, those types of things. You don't want your business liabilities to be commingled with that. You don't want those assets that you've worked really hard for to be at risk for the liabilities of your business. And then, of course, when you become an LLC, definitely get a business bank account. And all of that is involved in the registration process as a whole. So register through your state, file your LLC, articles of organization or certificate of formation, and then go get a business bank account. Make it a separate, legit business entity. And then the third thing is get business insurance. So it's important. It's something that people forget about, but you're setting yourself up right here for, okay, contract, first line of defense. Second line of defense is my actual business entity, probably an LLC. Third line of defense, if all else fails and the contract doesn't save me and the business entity doesn't save me, I've got insurance in my back pocket so that I'm not out thousands of dollars for those hundreds of thousands of dollars for the what if, situations.
Yeah, those are great and so crucial. Like I talk about that with my coaching clients all the time because it's amazing how they get skipped over and overlooked and didn't happen. And you're having a conversation with somebody that has had a business for 2 years and they're still getting paid into their personal account and using, personal cards for expenses for their business. And it's just a mess. So important to understand how to separate things, how to properly, file things. And it's a huge step towards making sure that you're legit and making sure that you understand, where you're getting into and how to serve your clients properly. So can we dive just a little bit more into the difference between the sole proprietor and the LLC? Because that's a question that I get a lot too. And you talked a little bit about separation of assets and things like that. But let's maybe give them an example, a good example of when you should file for one versus the other, and then what does that mean in a practical standpoint?
Yeah, so you don't file for a sole proprietorship. It's just a default kind of business type. It's not even a business entity, it's just a business type. And when you start a business on the side and you create a business name and maybe you're commingling your personal account with your business, like income and expenses coming out of that, you're a sole proprietorship. It's fine to be a sole proprietorship. I never tell people you can't do that. That's a misnomer in the legal industry, is they're always like, you have to become an LLC. It's better for liability purposes, but it's not, you don't have to do it. You'll know when your risk meter is high enough that you're like, hey, I've got a lot of clientele. I've got a lot of liabilities now. I need to have my business risks and liabilities separate from my personal stuff. And it's different for everyone. There's no bright line rule. And I know that's such a lawyer answer. It depends, but it truly does, because, I want you to be making more than like $5,000 to $10,000 a year. It's more than just a side hustle, right? It's kind of a part-time job, part-time business. Then it's a good idea. Or if you're like, I'm going to jump into weddings right away as a photographer, like, whoa, it's a lot riskier, a lot more liabilities at play there. And maybe at that point, you want to think about becoming an LLC quicker than you probably would have. And then there's some business owners that are like, nope, I'm becoming an LLC right away. I am not even starting a business without separating the two. And those are probably people who have probably more personal assets to protect, and they're a little bit more worried about that. So I don't know what category you're in, right? But it's okay to be in any of those categories. A sole proprietorship is you're just making money and you're going to file your personal tax return with the IRS and your state government through your social security number as you normally do. And then you'll have a Schedule C that says, did you make other income from other sources other than your W-2 jobs? And that's where you say yes. And then you have this business, and then you put your income and expenses on there and your net profit, and then you're going to pay taxes on that. A limited liability company is also what's called a pass-through taxation entity. So you're not going to get double taxed like you would be if you are incorporated in a true corporation, where the corporation has to pay taxes on the net profits of the business, and then the distributions go to the shareholders, and then the shareholders pay taxes on the shares and the distributions they receive. It's pass through. So as a limited liability company, if you're a solo owned business owner, same thing as a sole proprietorship, where the net profits of your business pass directly to you. You're only filing one tax return, which is great. And you're just still paying for your tax liability on your profits. But the best part about being a limited liability company is just as it's defined. You are limiting your liability as a business owner for negligent acts that could come up in the course of doing business. You're still liable for intentional acts as a business owner, but any of those whoopsie what if scenarios, client debacles, or disagreements that come up would fall under the LLC bubble. So if I'm going to give you an example of this, I like to give a bubble example where a sole proprietorship is like one bubble here. And everything is commingled in one, all of your business assets, all of the money, all of your liabilities and risks. Your contract is just through you as a person. It's not through a business. Maybe you have a DBA, a doing business as, and you like have your business name, but everything is still through you as a person. When you file for a limited liability company, and this is state-based, everyone, I'm not talking filing federal here. You're filing in your state, your home state, where you're domiciled, where you mainly do business. You can do business in multiple states, but whatever is the main state you do business in is where you will file for a limited liability company registration. And it depends on the state. Sometimes it's called certificate of formation, articles of organization. Sometimes you're filing through the Secretary of State. Sometimes you're filing through like an actual organization or department within your state government. Don't worry, I will make sure that Nata has our links to all of our LLC registration guides. We like have hand-holding guides through every single online registration step that you need in your specific state. So I'll walk you through this. But once you do that and you pay like a couple $100s, sometimes even less for the filing fee, then you become an actual registered business entity in your state and you get limited liability. But you have to make sure that that bubble is separate. So then all of your business assets and income, expenses, risks, and liabilities are all coming in and out of a business bank account. And contractually, your LLC is the one that is signing those contracts. And that will keep your personal assets not at risk for any negligent situations that happen. Hopefully, that was a little bit easier to understand.
That was amazing, specifically the sound effects. Just want to say that.
Make good bubble sound effects.
Love the bubble. That's a great explanation. I feel like people really need to understand the difference because, we see those questions all the time. I'm sure you get them all the time too, the difference and what should I go for and all that stuff. So
yeah, it's usually a really good option. Always have business insurance, even if you're a sole proprietorship or a limited liability company. But sometimes if you're still self-insuring, there's a lot of business owners who self-insure and don't feel the need to get insurance and pay that premium. That's fine. You can self-insure. I don't recommend it. But if you do, then when you become a limited liability company, you are giving yourself some form of insurance there in that respect because you're kind of creating this bubble around your business.
Yeah. I want to jump a little bit into intellectual property because I know that has been a hot topic since AI kind of came around and, just a bunch of stuff. But just from a pure business standpoint, not even considering AI stuff right now, what would be something that a new business owner should think about protecting from the get-go and what are some of maybe the pitfalls to avoid?
Yeah, business name first and foremost. As long as your name, like your personal legal name, isn't a part of the business name. If it is, it's just more difficult to trademark. But if you have a unique business name that you feel like you own, you're the first one to use it, then you should probably file a trademark for that. And a federal trademark. There's state trademarks as well, but federal trademarks will protect you nationwide for being the only one to use that business name, and it protects infringers or copycats from stealing your entire business. If you have a slogan or a brand phrase, some people forget that you can trademark that. So it's all about brand association with trademarks. Is that brand name associated with you, right? We have the Legal Paige trademarked. I don't want anyone else to be using the Legal Paige to promote their legal education and contract shop. Like I just don't, right? I want it to all be associated with TLP and all of our marks as well. And logos are trademarks too. But copyrights is something also that people forget about. So copywriting your website, copywriting PDF handouts, free downloads, or maybe ebooks that people pay for. Copywriting PowerPoints that you do if you're doing any type of education and coaching, and your PowerPoint slides or your handout with those slides. All of that is copyrighted. Of course, imagery is copyrighted too. If you're a photographer or if you're a videographer, your videos are copyrighted, putting people on notice, but registering those copyrighted works through the US Copyright Office is very important as well. So trademarks and copyrights are the big thing that people forget about until kind of like later on in their business. I feel like 2, 3, 4 years in, then people like have their feet underneath them. They're grounded as a business owner, so to speak. And then they're like, oh yeah, I forgot about IP. Forgot about how to protect my intellectual property that I own. And if you can do it sooner rather than later, it's going to be better for you as a business owner. And yeah, I mean, AI has a ton of things we could get into if you want to point me in the direction of where you would like me to discuss the legalities surrounding AI. But that's a good precursor to protecting your intellectual property.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Accidental CEO app. Are you looking for quick, powerful lessons to grow your business without the overwhelm? The Accidental CEO app is here with bite-sized mini courses designed to help you scale, streamline, and succeed in record time. Why you love these mini courses so much? Well, they're quick and actionable. You're going to learn game-changing strategies in minutes and start applying them immediately. There's expert insight, access to proven tips and techniques from successful entrepreneurs who have been there and done that. Business growth on the go. Whether you need help with delegation, scaling, or mindset shift, these courses are tailored to fit your busy schedule. It's result-focused, no fluff, just practical advice and tools to help you reach the next level. Are you ready to boost your revenue, reclaim your time, and become the CEO your business needs? Start with one of our mini courses today and see the difference. Download the Accidental CEO app now at the App Store, and you can also find the link on our show notes. All right, so just to keep it simple, because I know there's a lot when it comes to AI and copywriting and all of that. Just maybe the basics of what people need to be aware now that a lot more people are using AI and like things to consider to keep yourself out of trouble.
Yeah. So the general consensus in the legal world is honestly that transparency is better when it comes to using AI. So a disclosure policy can help you minimize legal risk and liability, as well as like help kind of your client trust and transparency regarding what you're doing with using AI apps. So there wasn't any laws really on disclosing AI other than the US Copyright Office kind of going forward with this initiative on trying to figure out, okay, if you have copyrighted works that were generated, at least in some capacity using an AI platform, can you actually own those copyrighted works? And the US Copyright Office was evaluating that. Well, since then, this spring, actually, Utah is the first state to have signed into law an Artificial Intelligence Policy Act. And it's the first state to really mandate that certain kind of customer disclosures are required if you're using AI for your services or for your business in any capacity. So it's like clearly and conspicuously disclosing use if asked or prompted by that person. I think there's going to be stricter AI, policy disclosure laws in place in the coming months, if not years. The FTC is looking into it as well. In February, they had said, there's all kinds of AI tools and bots, and they're mimicking individuals, and clients and customers don't really know if it's actually you. The FTC was seeking public comment on that. So I would not be surprised if the FTC comes out with rules and regulations, kind of more federal sweeping regulations surrounding it. Ultimately, I always say like disclosure is best practice. So in your client contracts, if you're using AI, any type of apps where maybe their imagery is going to be put into those apps and you're not entirely sure if that's like helping the generative platform, maybe you're using ChatGPT for copywriting purposes or client communication purposes, maybe you're using AI bots for client communication purposes, I just want you to disclose that. So in client contracts and then in your website terms and conditions as well, is those two are good places to put in like an AI disclosure clause.
That's perfect. Yeah, I was wondering what was the best place to kind of disclose all of that too. So
yeah, and we have website terms and conditions, AI disclosure, a la carte clauses at the Legal Paige, as well as client contract disclosure clauses for AI usage. And I'll make sure that I give you those links for people so they can easily access them.
Perfect. That would be great. I want to chat a little bit more too on about hiring process. There's another question that we get often is like, should I hire an employee? Should I hire an independent contractor? What does that mean? what is my obligation as far as what I have to provide to those people. So maybe let's dive in a little bit into that.
I know very general basics surrounding employment law. I'm asked about this all the time, but I'm not an employment lawyer. And I just want to state that right off the bat, because employment law is like its own animal. And employment lawyers spend their entire lives dealing with employment practices. And that can be federal based, but employment practices are very much state based. And so you need a really good employment lawyer in your state if you're looking at, hiring a lot of employees or like more of an expensive employee and you're worried about the liability and risk involved there. But the difference is truly employees are W-2'd under your business. You will pay your share of taxes as the business owner, and the employees will pay their share of taxes. You have to put them on payroll. You have to make sure that you are complying with unemployment insurance regulations in your state, workers' compensation regulations in your state, and they get the benefits of being an employee. So there's good things there regarding control of you as the business owner. There's a lot of times a lot more loyalty with employees. You can control their hours. You can control what projects they work on. You can, do performance reviews, and employees oftentimes foster really good work ethic. And they get the benefit of being an employee and, having workers' compensation and UI coverage, having you pay for a portion of their taxes. So that's really great. Reporting requirements are different. Employment law is a little bit different. Unemployment insurance and withholdings that we talked about. And then, tax document requirements. So you're sending them W-2s, and then they're going to use those to pay their taxes. You have to report that. Independent contractors are independent by nature, by definition. So they have to run their own business. They need to be able to have other businesses that they work for, their clients that they work for. You're basically giving that independent contractor a project, maybe a due date, and then it's at their discretion on when they're going to work, how they're going to work. Maybe there's, some control over discussions back and forth and making sure that the project gets completed on time. But it's all about control here. You want less control with an independent contractor, and then you're usually just paying them sometimes an hourly rate. However, hourly rates can look an awful lot like employees, and more often than not, independent contractors are getting paid by project or per month, kind of on a retainer basis. So we all know in our world, if you have a website designer doing maintenance on your website, maybe they have a retainer that you're paying to do maintenance. That's an independent contractor. They run their own business. You're just paying them a certain amount. Maybe a social media manager would be an independent contractor. They're doing media management for you, but also other businesses as well. That's a really good kind of beginning education on the difference between independent contractors and employees.
Yeah, that's great. I think that, you have to make sure that you're talking to somebody that understands all of that so they can help you guide you depending on what business you have, what kind of benefits you get to offer to employee versus contractors and where you are in your business. A lot of the creative entrepreneurs that we work with are probably more and less in the situation where they're providing health insurance and retirement fund contributions and things like that. So
yeah, you're probably just hiring independent contractors. You're paying them a flat rate. They're liable for their own taxes, their own self-employment taxes. You're not taking any of that out. And then, you're sending them a W-9 at the end of the year. If you paid them over $600, that's your reporting requirement.
Exactly. Perfect. Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because I think that's, again, something that people don't know. They don't understand that they're responsible for that. If you are hiring somebody as an independent contractor, you're still responsible for that legal part of things. Let's talk a little bit about networking. So you, from what I understand, built a lot of your business through networking. So let's give some people some tips on maybe the 3 top networking tips you have for small businesses to help kind of scale and grow their business.
This is a fun question. It's not a legal question, but it's more of a business CEO mindset question, and I really appreciate that. I love networking. I think it is one of my best traits, but something I've also really learned and honed in on and learned how not to, what to do, what doesn't work, what does work. The first thing I will tell people is just be yourself. That's number one with networking. Like authenticity really, really shows nowadays. People are looking for what you have to offer. And so if you're hiding behind AI scripted copy when you're pitching yourself or like a disingenuous message, copy and paste pitches, like they're never, ever, ever going to know what they're missing because they're just going to skip right over you. So be yourself. The next one that I always tell people is make it mutually beneficial. So it's kind of the most important tip to networking. Never go into a networking conversation being like, okay, this is only going to benefit me if I work and collab with this person. Maybe they have a lot of followers and you're just trying to like get to their followers or audience. That's the easiest, visual for people. You want to make sure that whatever you're proposing is actually going to be of benefit to the person that you're trying to serve and the newfound connection and their audience. Because if it's not, why would they respond back? And before like you hit send on the email or the DM or you're sending the voice message, like you need to be like, what are they going to get out of this relationship? And is that crystal clear in my message? Or am I just like saying, who am I and my background and what I do? And like, would this be helpful to you? Like, no, don't make it their decision to like have to or don't make it on them to decipher like what you could actually do together. Make it crystal clear. Here's what I offer. Here's what I can do. This is going to benefit you. And give before you ask. So make sure that you are saying right off the bat, like, here is my expertise and what I can do for your audience. And don't ever ask for something in return until you've fulfilled your give. Sometimes I don't do it. Like I'll just go be a guest expert in somebody's mastermind and I'll never ask for anything in return for like a year or two. And then I'll be like, oh, I remember working with that person. And actually, I now have this new offer that I think would be perfectly presented to their audience. And you've already done your give. You've fulfilled it to the utmost ability that you can. They will absolutely respond and make sure that, they're giving you something in return because they've been waiting for you to ask. Another tip I have is voice message. So I think, again, scripted copy, hiding behind text. Everyone hides behind a screen. And if you can send a voice message or better yet, a video message to somebody, it is going to show leaps and bounds how much you care about them. Do some research. What did they do? Use their first name, not their business name. It's like really like, who are you as a real person? And they're much more likely to answer you if you do that. So I'm sending voice messages all the time if I'm trying to network with somebody. I also, it's just more efficient than trying to write something down. So I'm just voice messaging or video messaging. And then prioritize in-person events, right? So I feel like a lot of people are doing everything virtual nowadays. And if you're really trying to network, you need to get in the room with other people that you can network with. COVID's over. Well, it's not over, but like the shutdowns are over. The in-person events are coming back. Like we all need to get out from our remote virtual world and get back in front of other people because you simply cannot replace like face-to-face conversations. And so investing in those in-person events is truly invaluable for you as a business owner. And yeah, I mean, just begin, right? Like you just need to start networking at the end of the day. You can think about all these tips, but if you actually don't do it, you're not going to get anywhere with networking in your business. And it's honestly, for everyone listening, it's how I built out a 250 plus affiliate program. We make, a lot of our income based off of those specific affiliates and offers that we have put in front of those affiliates audience and, partnered together and collabed on very specific contracts for their audience. So they feel like it's a custom approach and something that they would be happy to offer to their audience as well. So yeah, I love networking. I love talking about networking, if you can't tell. And I love the aspects of the business. I just network on podcasts too, right? And network at group events. So lots of various tips and tricks there.
Absolutely. That's all great. I think it's such a lost art, the in-person networking. even a little bit before COVID, I feel like people are just becoming a little bit more distant, and it's such a nice way to connect, and be asking questions. Like the way to find out how can you actually serve that person and helping them is by asking meaningful questions to try to connect with a person instead of just, like you said, showing up and be telling everybody what you do. Take the time to get to know people and see, is there a way that I can offer any kind of help? It doesn't even have to be anything to do with your business and your skill set. Sometimes you're just somebody's opening a new store and you can offer some help moving furniture. Like I don't know, something that would help you connect with that person in a personal, meaningful level. And guess who they're gonna remember if they ever need something that you offer? They're gonna remember you.
It's so true. Yeah, I mean, ask the person to coffee or like you said, like serve them. If they just need your time, like give them a little bit of time because they will return that favor. Maybe not right now, maybe they can't, but they certainly will in the future.
Yeah, it's so easy to get lost in the sea of profiles on like Instagram and social media. But when you connect in person, they will remember you for sure. So, very, very important tips there.
And especially if you're like doing photography or videography or like one-on-one services in your region and hometown, it's all about word of mouth referrals. It's the exact same approach that I took to my photography business. Like I just wanted to work with people. I wanted to get my name in their heads so that when they are asked, who did you work with? Did you like working with them? Then, it's all a referral system. It's all about networking and who you know. And you want to be your name needs to be spoken in rooms that you're not in, and you can't do that if you don't network.
Listen to Paige, people. Listen to Paige. On all kinds of things, not just legal things. All right, just to wrap it up, bring it back to the legal side a little bit. Tell everybody, what are the most common legal mistakes that you see out there that people should avoid?
Not having a contract in place or having like a bad contract in place, like one that you've pieced together from Google or your colleagues and you're not really sure what's in it. And in that same vein, like not communicating to your clients the important clauses in the contract and kind of having that meeting of the minds. So I always suggest that instead of sending a contract with kind of a template email that's like, "Hey, thanks for chatting. Here's my contract, sign and book." That's not what they want to hear. They want to hear the person that they just had a discovery call with or met up in person with. So I always like it to be an inviting email because you're sending the contract online. I want you to approach it as if you were sitting down at a table, old school wise, and signing the contract. Like, hey, this is what we agreed to. Here are specific areas of the contract I want you to take an extra peek at. So you're pointing out your important business policies, and you can say, like, take an extra peek at section 3, 7, and 9. Here's what those clauses mean. And then explain in your own brand tone and voice what those clauses mean. So it goes to show you're professional, you know what your contract means, and you're pointing things out that probably matter to your clients as well, like the fee schedule or cancellation and rescheduling clauses, and your business policies surrounding that, but also giving them the ability to get out at a certain time if they give you proper notice to do so. So things along those lines where they're feeling more comfortable working with you. They're also like, oh, this person knows what they're doing. They know what their contract actually says, and they're not just sending me a document to send me a document. And then an open door policy, right? If you have any questions, please let me know. It's yeah, your contract is there to protect you. Obviously, it's your contract as a business owner. It should be more heavily cited towards you and your business. But I also want you to be able to negotiate. Like, what if your clients want a little bit more privacy with their images? They need to like have an open discussion about your model release clause. That's something that comes
Yeah.
up all the time nowadays because people are more cautious about that, say with their children and you're at a family photo shoot. So just be aware of like those kinds of things because if you have an open door policy, clients are more likely to work with you because you're creating more of a custom approach. And then lastly, always put an expiration date on your contracts. That's a big one that's been popping up lately. Is people just send emails, but then the contract is just out there. And for them to get the price that you quoted and for you to leave that date available for them to book on your calendar, they need to sign within X period of time. It creates urgency and it makes sure that your contract can basically be terminated without any signatures and it's not an open-ended contract. So yeah, those are my biggest tips that I feel like are people just are sending contracts to send contracts, have no idea what's in them. Their clients have no idea what they're signing. Just be a little bit better about that. And I promise you it'll go a long way with your legal protection.
Any future developments for the Legal Page that you can share with us?
Ooh, I'm always keeping a finger on the pulse of the industry. We're always making updates to our contracts. That's something we do all the time, every single week. So something, like Sepia Gate happened in July, and there was a need to look at artistic style clauses again, and editing and delivery of images clauses again, and kind of what nuances do we need to point out in those clauses, or are there alternative options that we could give to photographers regarding those clauses. So we update contracts a lot. We're always putting out fun information and legal information on important news or pop culture things that could relate to you as a small business owner. Of course, laws changing, tax things changing, FTC regulations on non-competes and independent contractors. That's always coming out. AI disclosure practices, like you said. And then, I think future developments here are, just maybe getting with the times a little bit more. I think virtual lawyers are we send zip files of Word documents, and, you can open those in Google Docs, but can I make it easier for people to get that into a contract sending platform? We're kind of looking into that as well. I want to ease the process for everyone. I just want them to get a contract, be able to send an invoice as quickly and efficiently as possible, and make it super easy, not only on them as the business owner, but on clients to sign too.
Beautiful. I'm excited to see all of that.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see how long it takes me.
I know, right? We are going to link everything for you guys, but just give them maybe a quick way to connect with you online if they want to chat a little bit more.
Yeah, you can find me at thelegalpaige.com. That's PAIGE. And that's where we have all of our blogs, podcasts. We link our YouTubes as well. And then our full suite of contract templates, short forms, and a la carte clauses. You can find me at the Legal Paige on all social media, as well as Instagram and TikTok. And we do fun little, quick wins and tips and legal protection advice. And another good way to kind of get started, if you want a little bit more information on kind of my 3 best kept contract secrets and 4 really simple actionable tips that you can do right now to have better, solid client contracts, you can go to contractclass.com. Super simple.
Very cool. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today and sharing such a good amount of information and tip and resources with the audience. I really appreciate you.
Yes, I was happy to.
Awesome. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today, and we'll see you next week in another episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nata Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.